When Republican leaders criticized FDR and his family for wasting taxpayers' money by taking their puppy, Fala, abroad on official business, FDR responded this way.
Well, of course, I don't resent a tax, and my family don't resent a tax, but Fala does resent it.
I know it's getting late here, but it's not often that we have so many people who've written about us and broadcast about us all together in one room like this, and I thought you might like to say a few nice words to them. They're all from the press and radio and television. Maybe just a friendly little greeting would do. How about just a word or two, something friendly, even one kind word?
I'm thinking.
During the primary campaign, you criticized Governor Reagan for what you called his voodoo economics. God, I wish I had said that.
The chimpanzee who was flying in space took off at 10:08. He reports that everything is perfect and working well.
Well, I've heard the expression, who wants to live 100 years? I can tell him for sure there's one man, that's the man that's 99.
Now, I've been told that this is all off the record and that the cameras are all off. Is that right? Huh? I was told that because I've been waiting years to do this.
Bill Clinton's foreign policy experience is pretty much confined to having had breakfast once at the International House of Pancakes.
I hear these guys wringing their hands about everything being wrong with this country. I'm sorry, I just am all depressed. I want to switch over to see Jake and the Fat Man on CBS.
President Washington began this tradition in 1790 after reminding the nation that the destiny of self-government and the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. For our friends in the press who place a high premium on accuracy, let me say, I did not actually hear George Washington say that.
It is, as you can imagine, a great pleasure for me to be here in this beautiful ballroom before this magnificent assembly on an evening when all thought of politics is banished and I can concentrate on what I do best, comedy.
I like photographers. You don't ask questions.
But self-control in this business is important, as I think all of you know. When you're sitting in your tank, and the gun sights are trained right on Sam Donaldson, believe me, self-control is important.
Can you imagine Sam Donaldson with a camera? As most of you would say, the thought makes me shudder. Somebody asked me one day why we didn't put a stop to Sam shouting out questions at us when we're out on the South Lawn. We can't. If we did, the starlings would come back.
I don't really have much to say for my opening statement, so I will just cut to the chase. The opening that you just saw was meant to show you that no matter what happens to you, whether or not you're a bad boy or girl or whatever, if you do something that's stupid, or if you're not careful, then you'll either wind up hurt in the hospital or dead. That is all I have to say. So, now let's get on with the review. The episode opens to SpongeBob helping Sandy clean up her tree dome. As Sandy finishes raking leaves and coincidentally makes another sculpture of Texas out of leaves, this time, instead of sand, stepping onto leaves that SpongeBob said were too big, this happens.
We gotta get this stuff done before it's too late!
What's the big rush anyway, Sandy?
I told you, SpongeBob, I'm hibernating next week.
Hibernating? What's that?
It's when I go to sleep for the whole winter.
Can I do that?
No, silly. It's a mammalian thing.
Sandy, you may not have noticed, but I is 100% mammal.
Okay, creeping into slightly adult-like territory here. If you remember my Texas review, I said that Sandy saying, "You've been messing with a bull, now here come the horns," was the most sexually suggestive line of the entire episode. Well, now I must say that this right here is the most sexually suggestive line in the entire series. At least for now. If something in the future comes up, I will make a reference to this review. Anyway, as Sandy reminds herself that she can't burn carbs in her sleep, SpongeBob decides to spend all of his time with Sandy that he hasn't already sold to Mr. Cheapskate. After a few action sequences, SpongeBob has had enough, and has very artfully and skillfully hide under a rock. So after forcing the entire town to search for him, Sandy grows desperate and starts to take down buildings to find her future boyfriend. Now, before we move on, I would just like to point out one thing that bothers me about the last part of Act 2, right before Sandy starts obliterating Bikini Bottom. It actually appears as though we must be concerned about SpongeBob, supposedly because Sandy is putting SpongeBob at risk. I can't even explain in enough detail how much that isn't true, so I'll try to condense that reason a bit. First of all, Sandy's new behavior is not intrinsic, it's circumstantial. Like Confused Matthew said in his Incredibles review, the character's circumstances are causing them to act out in ways that they otherwise wouldn't. Sandy, in this case, is an animal that has been left in a cage all day. What she needs is a good outlet. And she wants a good outlet. She wants to act out in a positive way by going out for sports. Something she does every day on a daily basis anyway. But she just can't because, according to the laws of nature, Sandy must hibernate for the entire winter. As a result, because she has only merely a week left to stay awake, she takes this action to the extreme. Sandy is a genuinely good person who is just having trouble at the moment. My second problem with this is the fact that no one seems to notice all the spandy that is going on. The proof is right in front of you. Anyway, to make a long story short, Sandy finds SpongeBob. SpongeBob explains that Sandy was taking this whole hibernation thing too far, begs for forgiveness, finds Sandy sleeping, and then starts to sleep on her feet. The end.
For the next 7 days, it's gonna be you, me, and these sweatpants.